Hung Up Fam. Tonight I am with author Terrell J.A. Winder from the West Coast.
How's it going?
We'll talk about you went to school. I think you grew up in Maryland.
I'm
Where you
from
went to
Baltimore. I'm from
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Hmm.
I'm listen, Maryland native, grew up in Southern Maryland, Waldorf, Maryland my whole
Oh yeah.
life, and went to school in Baltimore. We just have so much to talk about.
Hmm.
Your book being the center of the conversation, Shameless, the making of Black gay identities in LA. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to meet with you, get a chance to chat with you today.
Yeah, we've been talking it up over the email. Shout out to XD
Hmm.
for making this connection happen. He's amazing.
Absolutely.
He's been on my show a couple times now.
Yeah.
And it's
Great
always a good time.
connection.
Yeah, XD is doing his thing out there. Well, he's in LA. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yes. I feel
Hmm.
like he was on the East Coast at one point. But
That's where we met. Yeah, when I was in New York,
oh, okay.
many years ago.
Shout out to XD, co-host of the Jade and XD podcast. We love Jade as well. But
Indeed.
Terrell, it's really nice to meet you, brother. How are you feeling? And we gotta tap in. I just want to see how you feeling, get you to introduce yourself. And then I got an icebreaker for you.
Okay, sounds good. No, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's good. It's summertime, so I'm just enjoying the post book publication things and trying to enjoy the summer weather and not too much, you know. I know
Not
y'all
too
had a heat
much.
wave. I was over there right before the heat wave started in Baltimore, so I got out before it
Insanity.
turned to 100 degrees. So
Insanity. I feel like y'all get the heat too, but at least y'all have that nice Pacific breeze
yes,
that kind
yes,
of
it's,
maybe
it
cools it
rarely
down a
gets
little
to
bit.
100. I wouldn't say it gets that high,
You
but
said no, 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 no,
it's
no.
sunny almost every day, but like maybe 80, maybe 90 sometimes. 100 would be a little wild, but yeah.
Well, they saying the scientists coming out and saying the El Ninos and the
Yes.
waters are heating up, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, we do not have the right administration in the White House right
Yeah.
now. I
No.
mean, you see this bacteria breakout. You can't even eat salad.
I know. It's a struggle, honestly. It's like avoiding all vegetables or cook them all. Sometimes you just want to, a salad, a cucumber, something simple, but
Yeah, something real simple. Chop that cucumber up, put a little vinegar over
yeah,
top
no.
of that thing, like our grandma and our aunties
No.
used to do.
That's not gonna cut it.
But that's why we got to get back to just growing our own shit in the backyard. I remember
Yes.
growing up, my father had a garden with, vegetables and fruit.
Mm.
And, granted, we, had a house, so we had the
Hmm.
space and land to do that. But even in the city, people are showing how you can build either a community garden, which we actually have a lot of those in
Mm.
Philly, or how you can set up a little something right in your backyard. You don't need a whole lot of
Yeah.
space, but Terrell, it's really given that there's just it's so much in the world. You really have to at this point. I put it on Threads not too long ago. You got to question everything at this point.
Indeed, indeed. You just got to do what you take what you can into your own control. I have a good friend out here who grows a very nice garden on her balcony.
Yeah,
I'm like, I keep telling her I need her to come and help me
get you
figure that out.
together.
Yeah, I see your plant in the background. I'm like, it would be dead. So you know, I gotta work on that. Like, I gotta figure out which style of growing things works for me.
You might need a starter plan, something easy that
You know,
doesn't require a whole lot.
I've done like the hydroponic, countertop, grow some vegetable things, but that's about as far as we go. I'm like, we get the soil and out in the sun and nature. I don't know. It might not last.
I'm actually proud of myself that I've been able to keep this tree. It's growing.
It
It was
looks
wider
good.
at one
Yeah.
point, but it's now like, no, I don't want to get wider. I want to grow up. You
Mm-hmm.
can see those two new leaves right there at the
Yeah.
top. I mean, she's going toward the sun.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a dog anymore to take care of. My dog, I had my dog for 13 years and he transitioned a year ago. And
Sorry to hear that.
so, I feel like all I got is my plants now. After my dog died, I had a turtle for a little bit.
Oh.
Big mistake.
Why is that?
Because first of all, what business did I have Terrell getting a turtle? That I just want to start there. Why did I?
Turtles,
It
turtles
was
are
a drunk
cute.
night. It was a drunk night out on Walnut Street in Philadelphia. I should have known better. That was the red flag right there.
Mm.
You don't buy turtles, you know, after midnight downtown Philadelphia.
It was a shop you bought it from?
No, this
Okay. Because
girl
I was
was
like, what shop is
literally
open after midnight selling turtles?
okay. Just that midnight shop where you can go get your
Mm-mm.
trinkets and things.
Yeah, I don't know them to sell turtles, but
That's open down there. Y'all know what I can't think of the name of it, but it is literally right there. But right there on the corner of Walnut, 13th and Walnut, and here in Philly is notably known as the Gayborhood.
Mm.
There was a girl set up like one night randomly. She had a table and she it was full of turtles. She had these little turtles, and I'm like, girl, what you doing
Wow.
about all these turtles? And it just I don't know if it was the grief
Mm.
because I had just lost my dog, maybe a mixture of that and the alcohol. And I said, let me get a turtle. It looks so adorable, but huge mistake. Turtles are very, in my opinion, those are very difficult animals to keep alive. That is not an easy
Oh.
animal to,
Mm.
to maintain. But if you do, them hoes will outlive your ass.
A little
Um,
temperamental. Got it. Yeah.
you
No,
said
I'm gonna leave
no
the
pets.
pets to other folks. No,
You're not a
no, I
pet
don't.
person at all.
No, I'm not really a morning person, and so anything that could wake me up before I want to be awake is not ideal.
Okay. Because I was like, all right, when you said I'm not a morning person, I'm going, well, all right, he doesn't want to, the dog, the whole walking situation. Okay, but maybe a cat.
No,
But you said no,
no.
anything that could potentially
Well, you
wake
know,
you up.
cats are sneaky. I don't really see it for
Very
cats,
sneaky,
so no.
very tricky. You got to watch them.
Yeah, and I don't have that. No, you can't be sneaking around in here. That's
Where
inappropriate.
you pay the rent. Like, what the hell? You kicking
Mm-mm.
indoors. Like, bitch, what you doing in?
No, no. Mm-mm.
Well,
So
let me
maybe
take a sip.
maybe a puppy, but I don't, you know.
Let me grab my drink and you don't mind my mouth. You see,
No, no. You're fine.
I was raised by drunk uncles and who had shotguns and,
Understood.
grew up pulling tobacco
Pulling
in the Southern
tobacco.
Maryland fields. But
Mm,
just cheers to you,
thank you.
and just cheers to us.
To us, yes.
Thriving, being alive.
Mm-hmm.
Before I hit the record button, I was being dead serious. Like I think about us. I think about community
Mm-hmm.
because we have so much to contend with as a community, as a collective, and then on an individual level.
Yeah,
We have our triumphs, we have our successes, but people there's also struggles too.
that's
Um,
true.
and so I found so much joy and I'm reading your book again, folks that are listening. Shameless, the making of Black gay identities in LA. Uh, let the people know before we jump into it. Let the people know where they can actually purchase your book.
Sure. My book is available pretty much anywhere books are sold. You can get it on the New York University Press website. You can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever you get your books. And if they don't have the book where you want it, ask them to get it. They'll find a way to get it to you, your library, anything. Yeah, it's available everywhere. You can also get a link to it on my website, which is just my name, Terrell Winder or terrellwinder.com. Um, so it's
I'll
available
make
there
sure
as
I
well.
include your website in the episode notes.
Yeah,
Do you have social media?
I do. I am Be More Terrell on all social platforms.
Repeat that
Uh,
one more time.
Be More Terrell. Like Baltimore.
You better be repping be more.
You have to, have to let the people know I'm not from here. I may live here, but I'm not from California, so
So watch what you say out your mouth. So be more Terrell. If you made that name, that tells me you've had that for a while. I feel
I
like
had it for a long time, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
A long time.
Also for me, I for the listeners as well, but I also wanted to know like, all right, who am I tagging? Who am I collaborating with? Do you put content on your social media?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, okay. So I'll send you collaboration requests for the videos that I post on social media. I always tell my guests it's an invitation. Don't
Yeah.
feel pressured to accept because you'll be tagged in it regardless.
Yeah.
But you know, any promotion that you want to do or can do is always helpful because I think where I'm at, I've been interviewing and podcasting since 2017.
Yeah.
And I said for this season, season 7, walking into this, I don't want to do interviews anymore. I really truly want to collaborate with people
Mm-hmm.
and I want the conversation to flow just like if we met and we
Yeah.
sitting down on the train or the bus and we having a conversation. And I also appreciate when the guests, share to their stories and
Mm-hmm.
share to their social medias because it just unlocks a whole new audience for both
Exactly.
of us,
Absolutely.
and that's really what the goal is. So again, shameless, the making of Black gay identities in LA. Y'all, I'm with Terrell J.A. Winder from
Winder.
Winder, Terrell J.A. Winder from B More. Y'all saw how he corrected me from B More. That B More jumped out, but made his way to the West Coast. And we're going to talk about that journey to the West Coast because your journey, you wrote about your journey
Mm-hmm.
and you wrote about your experience growing up in Baltimore and you wrote about what you found in LA and really what set the tone for you to even write this book. But before we get into all of that, we're gonna do a little icebreaker.
Okay.
It's gonna be fun. Nothing that eyebrow went up. Get my guests be doing that. They be like, wait, what you about to ask me? No,
This
no.
ice. Let's see.
It's not that type of show. Sometimes it can I mean it can go there.
Sure.
But no, 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 no. It's all love. It's really just to get to know you a little bit better and just so
Mm-hmm.
my listeners can get to know before we jump into the business and the
Yeah.
workings of it all. So I just have a few icebreaker questions for you. Number one, what's a song that you have on rotation right now? Or a song that you just vibing with that you really love right now?
That I really love right now. What have I been listening to? That's such a good question. That's so funny. I'm trying to think like what have I really been listening to
Don't
lately?
don't don't hesitate to go to your music app and if
Let
you
me
need to
put
pull
yeah,
open your list and see, all
let
right,
me
what
look and
am I
see.
listening to
What
right
have I been
now?
listening to? What have I been
I'm
listening
not gonna hold
to?
you. Lotto's new album,
Okay.
Give Me That. She got a couple songs on there. She got a song with Glorilla. That's my
Mm-hmm.
ratchet side coming out.
I listen to a lot of very different things. You know what? I went recently to the James Blake concert, and so I've been listening
How
to a
was
lot of
it?
James Blake
Okay.
um lately. Good. If it's not James Blake, I'm like in the 90s. I'm like listening to Mariah or something, but
Oh, you like the nostalgia.
I do. I'm like, I like a little, you know, I like the contemporary music as well, but I if I had to say what plays the most, it's probably a Mariah song, but lately it's the James
Yeah.
Blake album. Yeah.
Our diva is on. She's been performing recently. I think I saw a video of her, and folks are in the comments like, oh, "It's happening. She's dead in the eyes. She's tired
Uh,
of this. She doesn't want to do this anymore." And I'm a long time Mariah Carey fan as well. I mean, we're talking about Honey
mm-hmm.
back in the was it? I want to say Honey came out in '99. Am I right? I could be wrong.
I think
Um,
so. What was it, 98?
let's see,
Mm.
Mariah.
Now this is a test of my knowledge.
Let's see. I'm searching it right now. All right, here we go. Albums. Butterfly. It was on the Butterfly album. I was
Mm-hmm.
close. 97.
97. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But
We
also
go back.
has, yes, I mean,
Me and Mariah go back like babies and pacifiers.
okay, the only way to be.
When Emancipation of Mimi came out,
No skips. Just play straight through.
it's like,
Just let it
oh,
play.
so this is the Mariah Carey Bible. when we look at
Yes.
the discography, this is
Hmm.
the Bible right here. This is the
Exactly.
spine that is
Yes.
holding it all together.
I
Like
always say that's the album. Like, if I could only listen to one album forever, that's probably the one.
Emancipation.
Hmm.
Have you ever seen her perform live?
I have actually maybe 3 or 4 times,
Okay.
I want to say, in
Okay.
Vegas and then in LA a
Oh, okay.
few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
I
came
try to go
to
when I can, you know.
you be stepping out. She came to the Met here in Philly, and that was my first time seeing her. I'm a Mariah Carey fan. She did look a little tired in the, but you know what? I think honestly, it's a conversation about all our divas.
Yeah.
Look at Mary J. Blige. I think we really need to have or we are having conversations about this work that the industry puts
Yeah.
you through, and you are contracted to perform well past the time where you probably don't want to. You're like, look, I've been doing this,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
look, I can't, I have nothing to say about people being tired at work because I know when I go up there, sometimes I know my students are
how
like,
your face look
I
at work.
know he
Okay,
don't
this
want
is
you
what
to
I
be
want to say to
here.
the people in the comments. Like,
I'm not smiling either sometimes, so I get it. Like,
you get it. You get it.
hmm.
Okay. Next icebreaker question. This is a are you hung up or are you hanging up question
Mm,
relative to the title of the show. Hung up means you love it.
hmm.
If you hanging it up, it's a
It's
chop.
not. Yeah.
Are you hung up or are you hanging up on dating in LA as a black queer man or
Mm.
gay? I don't want to offend nobody. Some people don't like that word.
That's true for some people. Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say hung up,
Ooh,
maybe.
okay. It's a little lukewarm though.
I'm thinking about this. Part of me was like, uh, I've been in a relationship for the last 5 years, and so so I'm like, I look at LA as like we have a lot of fun when we're in LA and go down, my partner and I, whatever. But I first was thinking about dating in LA, like being on the scene, dating in
Yes.
LA,
Yes, as a single person. And let me ask you
and
this, in
maybe.
its or let me give you context. It's because as someone, I've traveled to LA maybe 3 or 4
Hmm.
times now. I love LA. I love
Hmm.
California. I've been to different parts of California too, Northern California. Um, but as someone who lives outside of LA as a black queer man,
Hmm.
as a black man, what I hear often is that if you want to date black men, if you're a black man who
Mm,
wants to date other black men, or if you're interested in black men who are interested in other black men,
yeah.
LA is not the place to go. And I'm just curious if there's any truth to that. Like at reflecting on your dating. Well,
Mm.
you did you move to LA for your with your partner?
No, I moved to
Okay,
LA when I was in graduate school, so that
gotcha.
was 2011 when I first moved to LA.
Okay,
Um,
so you've dated in
I've dated
LA.
in LA.
Yeah.
Um, I think you can find black men who want to date other black men. I think you can find that if that's what you're looking for. I think if you are caught up in going to spaces that, doesn't center all of your identity in that way, then like, yeah, if you find a guy who's like, oh, all my friends are not black, why are you trying to date him? Like
Hmm.
he don't even hang with you. So I don't think that has been my experience. And so I think true for some people, not true for others. I think it depends. Like who you surround yourself with, I think really shapes
Your
LA.
energy.
Yeah,
What
and I think
your
LA is also like so geographically spread out that like where you end up in LA is really going to shape your perception about like
okay.
what communities you have access to. Because you could be like, oh, I live in like downtown, and then you're like, but the person you maybe wouldn't even want to date someone who lives on the west side. You'd be like, I'm not driving over there.
Is
Like,
that spread out?
I feel like people will be like, "Oh, I'm not driving 45 minutes to an hour, hour and a half over there
Oh,
today. I'm not."
okay.
So I think that like hems people up. Like you,
Yeah, I hear that about
geography
New York
matters.
with the boroughs.
Yeah,
People are
like or if
like, I'm
I'm
not
not coming to Brooklyn, I'm
traveling.
not coming
Yeah,
to Manhattan. Like, that's
yeah.
I think that's real. Like I think people do that and then I think it shapes their perception of like what they have access to.
For sure. All right. Next icebreaker question. Name a queer icon you think is overdue for more love.
Hmm. My immediate thought went to like Sylvester because I'm always thinking about like the music, like this
Mm,
vocal, the queerness of it all, the like
yes.
over the top performance, the the show. So to me, that's someone who um I listen to a lot because I listen a lot to actually my favorite. I love Mariah Carey, but I'm also a Patti LaBelle like stan. So Philadelphia, I'm all about that. Like
Oh, yeah.
I think Philadelphia has probably given us some of the best
Come on.
artists
Come
of
on.
all time, and so
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, "You Are My Friend" and those songs like that, like Sylvester, uh, "You Make
That
Me Feel
trio
Mighty
right
Real," all of
there.
that. It's just beautiful music. So
I'm not
yeah.
surprised that that is an actual. It's like you said it. Mariah Carey, Patti LaBelle, Sylvester.
Mm-hmm.
There's a through line there
Mm-hmm.
between the
Mm-hmm.
three of those artists that is very common
Yeah,
between them. So I'm not surprised that you found that link, and you really love the old school hits,
I do.
and not even the old school hits because it really wasn't that long ago. But I think what it is that it's still good music that makes us feel good, and it's sometimes hard to find music
Yeah.
like that these days.
I love music from the 70s and 80s, like pre my birth. I feel like the 70s music is probably my thing where I'm like, yes, I love this
Oh,
sound. I love all this. But no shade to the new music. I like it, but
yeah, I definitely, yeah, absolutely. You are also like me.
yeah.
Name a problematic show that you've binged or are binging.
Problematic show that I binged. Do you know what? I've lately been watching reality TV set in other places. Like I love The Boyfriend on Netflix.
Oh,
Um the
okay. I haven't
Japanese
gotten
gay
into
dating
that.
show. I love it. I'm a stan. I think they're so interesting because it's so different from America. They mm, I'm trying to
Young
think
African
what
and Famous.
problematic.
I'm really into that.
Okay, I'm all about that. I've not seen it. I'm trying to think what do I watch. I watch Real Housewives every once in a while, and I find Married to Medicine to be hilarious. But I wouldn't say I
They'll be
binge
back
them.
soon.
Yeah. I watch more scripted TV, I think, than I do like
Unscripted
unscripted
TV.
TV or
Got you.
like reality. If I want reality TV, I'm like bring back the real world. That's my hot take. Give me Coral in the throwback, like, old school
Yeah.
real world
I
life.
I remember the Real World New Orleans cast the
Mm.
most.
Mm-hmm.
That cast had Danny, the white boy who was gay,
Mm-hmm.
the Asian girl who had all this attitude in a short pixie
I don't
cut. She
remember her
was
name.
adorable with the
Mm.
Angelina Jolie lips. I'm just trying to think, wasn't the black guy on that cast who did the song? Dee 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 dee. Like he did the
So I decide to, start off with a little scatting song, you know what I'm saying? That's how I present myself because that's part of my personality. Come on, be my baby tonight. Come on, be my baby tonight. I've seen the way you've treated other thugs you've been with. Come on, be my baby tonight. What the hell is he singing? Come on, be my baby tonight.
Is this for our opening?
That's a good question. I'm like trying to remember this New Orleans cast.
iconic season. Shout out
Yes.
to Real World New Orleans.
Yeah, I just knew I was going to be on Real World when I was a child, but
Did you ever?
I
I tried
deviated.
out actually.
Okay, no, I did not try it. I decided that that probably wouldn't be the best thing for my life.
You was thinking about your career path and
Yeah, I
where
was
you wanted to
like,
go.
I'm like, yeah, if
It's
I'm
like
gonna get this
actually,
doctorate, I think people will be like, he been on TV laying people out. That's
Well, now you have the doctorate,
True.
signed, sealed, and delivered. So,
Yes.
is that something that you would ever consider revisiting, like maybe being on TV?
I don't know. I kind of like I'm thinking about all this like online discourse. Actually, I saw Duran was talking about like made a post about people coming up to him now that he's like people recognize him more, talking to him and like being overwhelmed with like people recognizing you. And I always think like, you know, fandom as a concept is just so interesting to me. I would not want to be spotted at all times. I don't even when I was home, one of my friends who no longer lives in Baltimore but like is from there texted me and was like one of his friends said she saw me coming out of somewhere and was like, "Oh, you're home?" And I said, "See, I don't like that."
Not the third
Like,
person. Not
and you
not
didn't
you
say
spotted.
nothing. You saw me. You texting other people. I think I saw him. No, I don't like that. So don't do
Not
that.
somebody spotted you and they like, oh,
I think he
yeah,
here.
yeah,
No, so
yeah.
I can't do. Would I be on TV? It would take a lot, I think, to convince me of something like that. But yeah,
Okay.
some people I think are made for TV, like just really good TV. But I don't know that I'm
The
that person.
personality and the
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for playing the
Yeah.
icebreaker game.
Great questions.
And we're going to go ahead and get into some questions that I have for you.
Yeah.
The name of Terrell's book, everyone, again, is Shameless, the making of Black gay identities in LA. And remember, he said you can pick up the book wherever you can purchase books, on, and especially on your website, right? There's a
You can get
link,
it on my website. Yep. You can get it Amazon,
and I
bookstores.
will put the link, I'll include the link to Terrell's website in the episode notes. But I want to get into it because you grew up in Baltimore and so much of your story, your beginnings, I feel like parallel with my own.
Mm.
You grew up in Maryland, like myself. You grew up in Baltimore. I went to school in Baltimore. I went to Morgan State University.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And in reading the beginning of the book and the introduction, you were kind of like approached about joining a house. So like very
Mm-hmm.
early on, this idea of joining a house. And from what I remember, you had this idea of like, well, wait, I already got a mom and dad. I don't need to
Correct.
join a house. And I remember thinking the same exact thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect, it's like there was something deeper there
Mm-hmm.
when we got that question.
Yeah.
But I feel like we didn't know what we didn't know.
That's true.
And I feel like, wow, what if I had joined a house
Mm.
at
Mm-hmm.
18? What would that have done for my morale? What would that have possibly done for my self-esteem? What would it have been like for me to self-actualize in that space
Mm-hmm.
versus, because what I ended up with is, church demons
Mm.
and really having difficulty finding and navigating family space and
Yeah.
finding that community and that love and that family and that support and that safety that I really really wanted, that any child
Mm-hmm.
would long for. But that's what the houses really are set up for. And so when
Yeah.
when they approached me, it's like, do you want to be in a house? You can have a mom and a dad. It's like, no, I already got a mom and a dad, but it was
Yeah.
something deeper there.
Yeah. I think
um
it went to the explanation. They were like, "Oh, they can tell you what to do," and that was already like they can tell
you
me
was
what to
like,
do. No.
no, no, I
Mm-mm.
don't.
Mm.
So talk about your journey though.
Yeah.
How you found ballroom eventually in LA. And I think this is where Uplift
Hmm.
LA comes into play and comes into your story. But just talk about that. Like, what was it
Yeah.
like, being approached, hey, come join this house? Why didn't you make that
Hmm.
decision at that time? But what was it like for you making that transition to LA and eventually going to a ball, going to like your I
Yeah.
think you went to your first ball once you
In
went to
LA.
LA, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think being approached when I was younger, I was a teenager. I was just on the cusp of moving to New York City for college, and um they were like, "Oh, we have a house. Like you're moving to New York, but you could be in the house. They got a house scene up there. You could represent us up in New York." And I was like, "This does not sound appealing to me in any way. I'm going to school. Like I don't." I was very, I think, like book focused in high school, and so I went out and I was social, but I also knew that academics played a big part of my life, and so I was like, I'm not moving to New York to be in no house or to walk balls. Um, and so I resisted it because it didn't make sense to me. Like the answer of, oh, you can have a gay mother and a gay father who can tell you what to do didn't resonate as an answer to me about why it's something that I should pursue. I think in retrospect to your point, um, maybe the something deeper there was what were the things that my family couldn't prepare me for that a gay mother or gay father could have, right? So like
Exactly.
what are those conversations? And that's what I think I came to learn as part of conducting the research for the book, which was I think when I originally set out to do a project on black queer life, black gay life in LA, I was reticent at first to say, I don't know about going to these balls. I've never been to one. I don't do this, whatever. And actually XD said, you can't do this project on black gay people if you don't go to a ball. And I was like, I don't know. He was like, you're gonna have to go to a ball. And so, you
I
know,
love that.
and this is like probably right in this transition where I was leaving New York, he was still in New York, and I'm in LA. And I'm like, all right, let me see. And so I started off with Uplift LA, the organizational space, and going there, and they happened to throw balls on the West Coast. And so I went to my first ball, and I write about in the beginning, you know, I had a fundamental misunderstanding of what was actually happening at balls. Like I even the scoring process, like, was something I was learning on that first night where I was, I had one of the guys explaining to me, like, okay, they doing LSS now. And then when they started like ranking or like giving tens or whatever, I was like, oh, it's just 10 or you're dead. Now, see, all my life, I'm like, I thought this was like skating. Maybe you got an 8.7 or something. You was almost there. They like, no, you got a 10 or
Not
a
an
chop.
8.7.
I was like, wow, this is cutthroat. But because I had been doing this work with with the organization and helping them, I ended up in that on that at that ball. Um, they asked me to help out. And I was like, okay, sure. What do you want me to do? They were like, just sit on the stage and pass out the trophies. And I'm like, so I had this wild moment where I was like, I have resisted this all of my life. And now I'm in my
Here you
early
are.
20s and I'm sitting on the stage passing out these trophies at this ball that I never wanted to come to. But it helped me to learn what were those things what were the misconceptions I had about ballroom, and then also what were the things that I like, what were the reasons that other people were so interested in ballroom? Why did it play such a strong role in their upbringing in their lives? And so it helped me to think a little bit differently about you know why it was so important.
Yeah, that's actually a question that is coming to mind as you are unpacking your experience of ballroom. What was something that was unexpected that ballroom taught you?
I think the extent to which um the social support aspect really played a role, and that um one of the things I highlight or try to highlight in the book about gay family is that gay family cuts across ballroom. So I think most times we think like if you're in a house, your gay mother, your gay father is only you only think of that person as the person in your house. Sometimes I think shows like Pose and more recent depictions of it have helped us to understand that like sometimes you can have a gay mother and gay father and not be in a house. You could be in a different house from your gay mother and gay father. Like so this idea that um what really is at the core of this is family and social support and care, right? Like the lengths to which people went to care for their
Mhm.
children
Yeah.
and to care for each other, I think was impressive.
Like they were their biological parent.
Correct.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't think I saw it that way. And I think that could have been partially just because of my own upbringing, right? Like where like we said, like I was like, oh, I have a mother and a father. I didn't get the appeal. Like, why would I get someone else to pretend to be my parents when I have parents? Um, and I think it forced me to think about it's not pretend, right? Like this is not a pretend relationship in some way. It's like a supplement or even or even a replacement for
Okay.
sometimes those relationships. Yeah.
And here I am at the age of 40, and I'm like, no, I need a gay daddy and a gay mama, please.
I don't know. I'm
Sign
like
me
now at the age
up.
we're like, oh, do we have to have kids? We gotta have gay kids now. No.
I know, right? I'm at the right. They're gonna be like, no, you father. Like, no, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm not there yet. I'm
Mhm,
not ready to grow up yet.
mhm,
You wrote in your book, you said this book serves two purposes. Number one, illustrate clear examples of how stigma, discrimination, and prejudice can be navigated successfully for gay
mhm.
Black men. Two, encourage scholars and researchers to reconsider the destigmatization enterprise and to problematize how we approach combating stigma. Unpack that. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, for the first point, my goal was to say I wanted to be sure that any black gay man, black queer person who read the book could understand themselves in the pages and could see themselves in some of the stories, right? So there are people in there who, we have folks who grew up in the military, folks who grew up in the South, folks who grew up in LA, people who moved to LA because of different things, people who were brought up in the church, PKs, preachers' kids, right?
Mhm.
Like, can you see yourself in these pages and to know your experience isn't just an isolated experience in terms of stigma. And I know, prejudice, discrimination, stigma, I wanted to disentangle those words in the book to be clear about what is the burden of stigma and how much of a role it plays in people's lives today. On the flip side, I think a lot of the destigmatization work that we see in point two with interventions and researchers is targeted towards teaching people how to simply navigate the stigma. So, yes, those people treat you bad because of your race. Yes, those people treat you bad because of your sexuality. Here's how you deal with it. And we call that, or we think of that as a path towards destigmatization. And I'm arguing that it's not, because the people that need the intervention are not the people who are dealing with the stigma. It's actually the people who've created it, right? So the people who are running around being prejudiced, discriminating, those are the
Causing
people that need the
harm.
intervention.
Hmm.
Exactly. So it's like I can teach you how to deal with racism because many of us were taught how to deal with that growing up, if depending on who you grew up around. That doesn't fix the stigma associated with blackness. Like I had to work through my own understanding of what that is. So the people that actually need the intervention are the stigmatizer, not the stigmatized. And so it was important for me to make that distinction in the work because I think sometimes we don't. I think people think of, oh, this is a destigmatizing effort, or like we're breaking down stigma by doing this thing. And it's like, I don't think you're breaking down stigma. You're really teaching people how to live with it. Um, and that's a different project, right? And so I wanted to highlight that difference in the work.
And I think that's really super important. So that way we don't carry that burden or that we have that onus or we feel like we're the people to solve certain issues, especially like when it comes to racism
Mm-hmm.
and discrimination against the LGBTQ community. It's important for us uh, to understand that,
Yeah.
right? And that is a part of community when we're talking about houses and families and your chosen family and things like that. It's a lot of uplifting, supporting, and affirmation. And that's some of it is
Mm-hmm.
reminding each other that no, you are not the problem. It's the system that
Correct.
is the problem. Um, and I think it's equally important. I want to say, is it? equally important, or if not more, maybe it's just equally important that we also are teaching each other, like you mentioned, giving us the tools and the skills on how to navigate it, because we don't control the
Right.
fixing of the issue. And
Hmm.
so it's like, okay, well, what do we do in the
It's yeah,
meantime, in between time?
yeah.
How do we survive?
It's
How do
not an either
we,
or.
right?
Hmm.
Exactly. So I think that was a really important call out in your
Yeah.
work.
How do we survive? And it was important to me to also highlight that while we have strategies, some people pick different strategies for different reasons, right? And not to shame people for whatever strategy they're using to navigate that stigma. I think it's important, right? It's a set of tools to think about rather than there's a right way and a wrong way. Because I think it's hard for people to, if they haven't been through some of the experiences that I think other people have been through,
Mm.
um, to
To
understand it.
empathize.
To empathize or to sympathize. Even sometimes they
Mhm.
can't even get there. It's like I can't even they can't even wrap their minds
Right.
around
You can't even get to
the
the empathy if you
experience.
can't
Yeah,
sympathize. Like,
exactly.
yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point. You wrote about internalized self hate too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I want to talk about that because as we're talking about teaching each other how to navigate stigma,
Mm-hmm.
the positive ways on how to navigate stigma. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we pick up habits that are negative ways to
Mm-hmm.
navigate stigma. And some of it is internalizing that self-hate,
Mm-hmm.
and we can sometimes become hateful or embarrassed towards ourselves, or if we see it
Mm-hmm.
in other people. I think that
Yep.
was one of the examples that you used. Especially when you're young, or even when the
Mm-hmm.
DL, you don't have to be young. If you're just not secure in who you are, you see
Mm-hmm.
someone else who is walking down the street. You see the gay, you see the femme,
Mm-hmm.
you see the mannerisms, and that can trigger violence. That can trigger all types of reactions from people,
Mm-hmm.
even people who are gay. Like, you see somebody else who
Yep.
is gay, and you feel like, oh no, you got to call it out as a way to pass, or you use the word to cover
Mm-hmm.
yourself to avoid said stigmatization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We will punish ourselves. We will punish others as well. Talk about how internalized self-hate, in writing your book, what were some
Mm-hmm.
of the ways that it came up, or that you saw how
Mm.
it manifested itself in the community?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think um in the book, like you said, I use passing and covering because those are kind of the classic ways we think about how people navigate stigma in everyday life, right? You might pass. We know generally, most people I think know conceptually what passing is, which is like, can you pretend not to be like, I'm going to pass as straight or I'm going to pass as not black, right? If we think in the race scenario. Covering is like, well, we all know you're gay, but I'm going to like play it down so that it doesn't make you uncomfortable or I don't draw attention to it. And for me, that internalization of hate came up a lot, especially it came up with race, but it came up especially more with sexuality, right? Because they had been learning it through different mediums. Um, so from family, from friends they had grown up, sometimes not even things that were directed towards them, but things they heard other people say in their lives. Like you might hear someone else be called gay or queer or, you know, any epithet, right? Any bad word or say something like, we should kill all the gay people, right? Like those things you hear your aunt say that about some people, or you hear your cousin say that, like it
Yeah,
shifts your
growing up,
perspective,
the
right?
barbershop culture, this is what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
Right. You can
Absolutely.
hear any of those things.
Yeah.
And, I think barbershop is a great example. It could be at the barbershop, it could be in the classroom, it could be at home, it could be any of those places.
Yeah.
And you have to unlearn that hate because when you start to realize that maybe you're that thing that everyone's talking about, that's a problem. And how do you undo that? And I think you bring up great examples like in the book where people are saying, there were several guys who said like the way that they avoided too much attention on their own sexuality was that when they were around people growing up, if they saw someone else who was gay, they would be the first person to,
Call it
harass
out.
them, call it out, make fun of them,
And see,
because
that's that hyper
it's that masculinity
homophobia
project. Yeah.
that we see that comes up in a lot of DL men,
Hmm.
and we be warning people like, listen, if your man is so violent when he sees gay people that it
Hmm.
just triggers him in a certain kind of way, you have to start questioning like, well, why does this trigger you in that
Right.
kind of way?
Yeah. We have another sociologist wrote a book. Her name is CJ Pasco. Her book is called Dude, You're a Fag. And that's from like 2007. And she looked at American high school and, a lot of the young boys were calling each other fag. And she was, basically writes about how she argues that they say, oh, we wouldn't really call a gay person fag or whatever. To them, it was just like a way to shore up their masculinity. And one
Mm,
of the things I try to show in the book is like, yes, that is happening, but also gay people are also being called fag in schools and being harassed. So one example of a boy I talk about in the book is like someone who says, I didn't even want to go to college because I thought it would be worse. Like I write about, he talked about boys harassing him, spitting on him in the middle of the day, and like missing classes because he just ran to the bathroom and cried all day. And I think those types of experiences, really codified the hate that people can have for themselves.
yeah,
I also think like there were a few preachers' kids who grew up and they were like, the way I learned about my sexuality was
I was an abomination.
right and from the Bible.
Right.
And I'm like, you gotta, how do we unlearn that? And what's that process look like?
And some of
Um,
us don't make it
yeah,
out.
correct. Right.
Sometimes we don't unlearn. We're
Indeed.
talking about the best case scenario here in a lot of this, but sometimes folks don't make it out.
Yeah. And it's true for blackness too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
those of us who were raised in families that had a strong desire to teach us about, you know, black culture, black is beautiful, like black history, why it matters that we understand where we came from and what our experiences, things, parents that try to prepare you for how the outside world might treat you because of your race. I think if you didn't grow up in that, those are the young men in the book, I think, who struggled a lot, especially with like self hate around certain things, because sometimes the first place that they experienced that racism was at home. Cousins who called them, whatever word in another language that was the equivalent of the N word, or so
Yeah.
like they grew up feeling that pressure. Or on the flip side, some of the folks who were dark skinned in the book talked about they hated being black, or they hated other black people because they were treated so poorly growing up by black people because they were dark skinned.
Because they
And
were
so I think there's a lot of
from being
complexity
T.
around it,
Yeah.
and how that internalized hate kind of builds up in the body, and then what do you have to do to actually like unpack it?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about, what do you actually have to do? That's a great question. What do you actually have to do to unpack that? How do you overcome things like internalized self-hate, internalized stigma? And I think that's a perfect segue into asking you to talk about this term that you
Mm,
use called unspoiling in your
hmm.
book, um, which is exactly that. It's, to me, it's an unraveling. It's a rejection of the stigma, and it's an acceptance to self. It's just like you mentioned how we had to kind of relearn history growing up,
Hmm.
the history taught in schools, but what we learned at home, the Black history was, we were taught that history in a way of being proud of
Hmm.
who we are and where we come from,
Yeah.
and what we stand for as a people, the color of our skin, the texture of our hair, everything. We had
Hmm.
to relearn that, and we had to shed colonialism. We had to shed all of those things that we were brought into this world with, that were not for our benefit. And I feel like that is the same thing we have to do as queer people,
Hmm.
especially coming into adulthood. And I feel like so many people reading your book will be able to relate to that. the unspoiling. Talk about that, Terrell.
Yeah, definitely. For me, unspoiling was a direct response to, one of the earliest books about stigma was called Management of a Spoiled Identity. So stigma, management of a spoiled identity. And, the idea that an identity could be spoiled, right? And spoiled to me always carried this like, perpetuity to it, like this permanence, right? Like if something is spoiled, it's gone bad. Like you can't use it anymore. It's no
Yeah.
good, right? And so what would it mean uh to break that up? And so I played a lot with this question of unspoiling something, or what things are intentionally spoiled, it becomes something else. So, when I would give talks about this early on, it'd be like, like yogurt and cheese, like where you introduce bacteria or something to make it a different product. Like identities are not should not be considered things that are spoiled in perpetuity. And I think we know a lot about how
Mm,
identities become spoiled over time, but we don't know as much about how do we get to unspoiling those identities towards this idea that it could be something that might be destigmatization over time. And so it was important for me to say that unspoiling was a process that had to do with reconceptualizing the relationship that someone has with their own socially spoiled identities, right? So I could grow up in the US and know that because of my race I'm going to be treated a certain way, or because of my sexuality, because of my gender, whatever. How do I reformulate a relationship with those identities I've been told I shouldn't want to have, or I shouldn't want to hold on to, right? um and so for me, that's what unspoiling offers, right? It's a, a way to think about what is the language we can put to that process, and not focusing on destigmatization, which I think has to do often with other people, right? Like my goal isn't whether or not you feel good about me. It's about what do I feel good about me,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And I'm not worried about if you're comfortable because I'm here, or you're comfortable because of how I'm talking, or that I'm worried about, am I comfortable? Can I be who I am? Am I going to be able to go to sleep, tonight because of how I showed up today? That was what was important to me about unspoiling.
And I even like the play on the word, honestly, because you set the stage. When we think of something that's spoiled, it's something that can't be um, revitalized.
No.
It's a done deal, and that is the narrative that so many of us are told as Black um, gay children growing up, that we can't be salvaged,
Hmm.
that we're not good enough the way we are, that we have to go back somewhere and, I guess, let the water run through you, and you got to come back somebody else new or different for us to love you and accept you.
Yeah.
This whole idea of unspoiling, I like to play on the word. It's like, no, actually, something that we've thought for a long time that you couldn't undo, you can actually.
Hmm.
You can actually pull yourself out of this dark space. You can actually fall back in love with yourself. And the reason why I say fall back in love with yourself, because I,
Hmm.
I feel like for so many of us, it is a return to love. One of a book that I love by Marianne William Mary Ann Williamson, I'm pretty sure it's her
Mm.
last name. It's called A Return to Love, is because we came into this world perfect. We came into this world with love. It's just we have to go back to it. We have to find it again.
Yeah.
um I think there's so many layers that's been put on us as
Hmm.
Black people, so much trauma that we carry in this world. There's so much that we're not responsible for, but we still have to contend with and deal with.
Hmm.
But when we get to a place where we can like remove all the noise, we can start to go back to who we actually were. And to me, like, back to home is back to loving self. Back
Hmm.
home is back to spirit. Back home is back to ancestors. Like
Yeah.
that is where the true love is. All this bullshit that the world tells us, it's not. And even when it comes to religion
Mm.
and
Hmm.
how we've grown up, I you know what? Terrell, I kind of give some of my family a little bit of pass because they don't know no
Mm,
better.
yeah,
They
religion's an
don't know no
interesting
better.
one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, in a way, religious ideology, when you're so married to it, you've cut yourself off from any type of conversation that I could try to have with you
Yeah.
about my humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You, and that's
But the core
honestly,
of the yeah, but the core of
that's
the religions are supposed to be about, we're all human, right? So like, this I think even that like, the classic love the sinner, hate the sin, like mess where you get into right where it's yes, we can give passes to some of the folks who I think were born of different times and do different things, but I do think we have to always make them contend with the questions about why sexuality in particular has had such a strong negative
right.
irredeemability to it in that way. But like you like
Because some of them
we see
still
examples of
closeted.
exactly, and you can see examples of people, you know one of the local doctors who uh, um, ran one of the clinics in LA um, used to say, um, you know, why is it that you can accept your son who's in prison but not your gay
Right.
son or you're
Right.
those right? And so I think these ideas of sexuality really being this like really bad question, this really awful thing that you're doing, um we have to contend with that, right? Like what is this, why is this so much worse, why is this awful, why do you feel this way, why would you wish these horrible things on someone? um and I love the idea of learning to relove, but I also think it's important to highlight some of the folks I think don't feel like they grew up ever in love, right? Like with that and with having that. And so I think taking for not to take for granted that I think many of us grow up in love, but sometimes that love is conditional, right? Like that people have expectations of us, and if we don't meet them, then they don't care for us in that way. And I think that's not what we're taught growing up, right? We're taught that family's supposed to be this unconditional love. We love you no matter what you do, whatever. But then a lot of times queer people I think find that they're really the ones who are like testing the boundaries of that. Like you
Yeah.
said you love me no matter what. I'm telling you this, does it still hold? And I think that's a key question that I think a lot of people brush up against in their life.
Yeah. I want to close out with the three areas where you identified where Black gay men could potentially unspoil, as we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about here, unspoiling. And I just want to hear from you, like, how each of these areas have helped you
Mm,
unspoil. And so the three areas you identified were community organizations, media representation, and then chosen family.
yeah.
So, Terrell, let's start with community organizations, whether it's Uplift LA or any other
Mm-hmm.
organizations. What organizations have helped you unspoil, and what was that journey like?
That's a good question. One of the reasons why I focus on the community organizations because I actually felt like growing up, I wasn't in any community organization that was helping me unspoil that for me. Um, I was fascinated when I got to LA that there were so many community organizations that were targeting Black, gay, and queer men, right? Where you could go to a support group or go get testing or get a meal here. Like this group had meetings on Tuesdays, this one had Wednesdays, this one had Thursdays. There was always food. Those types of things I don't think I knew of when I was like young in Baltimore. And then when I was in college around the same, like, late teens, early 20s in New York, I wasn't part of any of those communities. So to me, I think the things that helped me probably were um maybe the traditional educational structures that I was a part of. I just lucked up that I was able to see some folks there. Like one of the folks that comes to mind is like a mentor of mine that I met through an educational conference that I went through in high school. And he was a Black gay man. Dr. Rodney Glasgow, who when I met, I was 14, and I remember seeing him and being like, he is a lot. He real comfortable in his gayness. And at that point in my life, I was like, I am not, this is too much for me. But,
Yeah,
you
when you're
know,
not comfortable in yours and
no,
someone comes around you and they're comfortable, it's like,
yeah. But I
yeah,
was like, oh, you're doing a lot. He's so much. But also, I was mystified by his comfort no matter what was going on around him.
yeah,
And so for me, that was maybe the thing. I don't know that I had a community organization, which is why I think of Uplift LA in the book as something very special in terms of like Los Angeles and other major metropolitan areas where there are community organization choices. And it was important for me to highlight that it's in LA because I think some of our cities and places where people are growing up, they don't have community organizations that are this funded or this well known
yeah,
or have those types of resources.
yeah,
But it became a place where people could debate how to deal with stigma in everyday life, right? Like they could
yeah.
support one another, say, this is what I would do, this is how I would deal with this. Why do you deal with it that way? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll
Um,
say for me,
mm-hmm,
for community organizations, I just want to shout out Philly Black Pride
mm-hmm,
here in Philadelphia, which is a nonprofit organization that has been around for a very long time. And, every year, Philly Black Pride does its Pride Week in April, the same week that we have Penn Relays here in Philly,
mm-hmm,
and it's all about community.
yeah,
And even outside of that weekend, Philly Black Pride is doing things for the Philly youth, the Philly gay youth,
mm-hmm,
and doing partnerships and collaborations with health resources, and businesses and different things that are just going on in the city to give people something.
yeah.
And so I'm just proud to be on the board. This is my first year being on the board.
Oh, that's
And I'll just
awesome.
say that, it's helped me unspoil too, because, just, and you can probably relate, and you talked about this a little bit in your book, you're just like being around other gay men, the camaraderie
Mm-hmm.
of it all. There's so much that comes out of it. And one thing for sure is like, they're going to push you.
Yes.
They're going to push you. They're going to read you
Mm-hmm.
when you like, when they know you can do better,
I'll take you to task, indeed.
they're going to test you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be put in uncomfortable situations so that way you can grow and be better. And that's the whole point. Like, we don't grow unless we're uncomfortable. And so, shout out to community organizations. Shout out
Yeah.
to Philly Black Pride for helping me unspoil, because, child, they be.
Yeah.
Shh.
And
And
thank goodness for
our
all of our
president,
Black prides.
say it again.
I'll say thank goodness for all of our Black prides that we
Thank
have,
God,
in all the
yeah, that
cities.
all the cities
Mm-hmm.
are exactly, because I'm seeing Black Prides pop up in cities all over the place. I mean, even here on the West Coast, we were surprised this year to see a Camden. Camden is right here across the bridge in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We was like a Camden Pride. And they ended up thanking and shouting out Philly Black Pride for
Yeah,
showing them that, hey, this is possible, you can do this in your
exactly.
community too. And I think that's such a beautiful thing about our community organizations, is that they don't have to be the only one.
Yeah.
I think we put so much on community organizations, where we
Mm-hmm.
could just start showing up and doing, and because the people, the blueprint is there,
Yes.
and so we can recreate this. So the second area where you said gay Black men can unspoil, you said media representation.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about that. How has media representation shown up for you, and how have you found this space as a place to unspoil as a gay Black man?
Yeah, media representation became a big piece of this because I remembered my own understanding of LA being really shaped early on by having watched Noah's Ark as a teenager in Baltimore, having never been to California or LA or anything, but I had this idea of it in my head because of, in 2005, 2006, you get Noah's Ark on TV and you see, uh, you know, a group of black gay friends together. And I always joke and say when I first was watching gay shows on television, I remember the first time I watched Queer as Folk being like, oh, if this is gay, I don't know if that's what I'm on. So then when I saw Noah's Ark, I was like, no, wait a minute, this might be more my speed because they were black, they were queer, they were living out in LA, and I think it gave us a good
Hmm.
um
It's a good
model of
spread.
that. A good
Yeah.
spread, and it had different types of friends, different
Yes.
different looks, different jobs, different things they were doing. And so I think media representation plays a big role because what it allows you to do is, kind of dream and to see a different possibility, like visually. I think one of the biggest fights that we constantly see in media today is, do we need to label this as gay content? Do we not? Why does every show have to have a gay person in it? Why don't they? Y'all are this whole discourse of forcing it down people's throat and all of that. I think
Ridiculous.
media reveals that sometimes it's the easiest way to spread word about people and their experiences or what their experiences should be without actually engaging with the like an
Yeah,
actual human being,
exactly. Because when we
right?
start telling our stories the way that we want to be fully and truly represented, that's when it's a problem.
Yes.
Now, when they make
Yes.
us a caricature on a random show,
Hmm.
and we the homegirl doing the hair, or we the homegirl doing the nails, or we like when we're a caricature, it's okay.
Yes. Yes. I think we always, I mean, in a lot of black films, there's like one gay guy in the salon or something, right? That's like
Hmm.
the classic one. And I think, shows like Noah's Ark and some of the new content that we're seeing created, um, give us an opportunity to come up with new ways to think about it. It means that when you have more than one black gay character on the screen, that all stereotypes don't have to be dispelled in one person. All struggles don't have to land on one body, right? Like it can be spread across. People can deal with different family configurations, different scenarios, different hopes, different dreams. And so media becomes this very powerful tool that, sometimes I think it's hard for researchers to kind of measure. Like it's hard for us to say, like, to what extent does seeing this show on TV mean something for you? But what I was able to see were people who would say things like, I moved to LA because I watched Noah's Ark. Like people who were saying that, right,
Wow.
in my project. And I think it's important because then when they got to LA, it was always funny because, if you watch Noah's Ark, you're not from Los Angeles, they're in West Hollywood. It's like, they black and gay, they're hanging around it. And everyone was like, oh, I got to get to LA. That seems like where I can live and be me. But all the black gay guys who were from LA, living in LA, were like, West Hollywood is not like this. Like when they were watching the show. And so I think,
Mm.
you know, representation can be both a reflection of reality, but it also has some very powerful, like aspirational,
It can
fictional
shift the
elements
reality
that can
too.
shift your reality. Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Hmm.
It is. And shout out to Doug Spearman who played Chance on Noah's Ark. He actually came on my podcast twice. I had the
Awesome.
pleasure of interviewing him twice. And
They play such a big role, I think, in growing up, depending on where you are in your age.
I was just
Daryl
about to say,
Stevens
yeah.
did the book launch for me out in LA, and I'd interviewed him for the book. And so, you
Oh, that's
know,
awesome.
it's amazing, I think, to see
Love
these
Daryl.
guys who we saw on TV who meant so much to us, like be able to still like really be engaged with community in a way and like
Yeah.
support, because they were support for us even though they didn't know who we were, you know.
And it's just, it's such a gift and a blessing to see them aging well,
Hmm.
aging
Hmm.
healthy, aging beautifully.
Indeed.
Um,
And getting new accolades, right?
Love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
time.
In the third area you identified where black gay men can unspoil was chosen family.
Yeah, it was important for me, I think, back to our kind of earlier points about like, house ballroom, but like gay family. One, I wanted to say when I was growing up, gay family meant the gay family you created. Not, I think today when people say gay family, they think like two gay people that got together and had kids or something. And so I wanted to reclaim that a little bit and say, no, this is an older meaning of gay family. Like my gay family is my gay mother, my gay father, my gay
Yeah.
siblings. And that was important to me. And to highlight that these families do sometimes they can both, they can replace family if you don't have it, or they can like kind of supplement family, relationships that you have. So some people had biological family and they had good relationships with them, but they just would say like, their mother and their father can't teach them about gay dating. They can't
Yeah.
teach them gay sexual hygiene or like what things they need to look out for, what they like how to take care of their bodies with, the latest biomedical interventions and that stuff. And so it became a space where people could really bond together and to do that. I opened that chapter up, I believe, with a quote from Pepper LaBeija from Paris is Burning, who says, when someone loses their family, they get out in the world and they search. That's like probably
Yeah.
not a direct quote, but like basically the
I know
sense of like
exactly
when
the
you
quote you're
don't
talking
have
about.
family,
Yes.
right? You
Yeah.
you get out in the world and you're looking for
And
it.
you're
And I
searching.
think you
Yeah.
were on a quest. And many of the young guys who end up in these gay families, I think, are in that space where it's like, there were young guys who grew up whose parents really were their first bully. And I think building a gay family, what does it mean to have a gay father and a gay mother? Um, was a beautiful thing. And I enjoyed getting to watch them show me what the value of a gay family could be, right? Like when someone in their biological family passed away, how they circled around each other, how they were there for each other, how they supported each other when they were looking for jobs or getting ready for jobs, and they could borrow things from one another. Or I don't know how I'm going to pay my phone bill. Will you do this for me? Or I write about the one of the families that I studied in the book. I went out with them to Sky Zone one night, and sidebar, which is like it is very difficult to take notes on what's happening when you're on a trampoline, but
Yeah.
hanging out with them that night was fun, but watching their father, he was like, I'm paying for everybody, I'm paying for it all, like I just want y'all to have fun tonight. And he and I, there's a moment where I write about this, I think in the book, where I'm like, he and I go back and forth because I'm like, no, I can pay for me because I'm not one of your kids or whatever. And he's like, no, you are with me tonight. Like I'm taking care of y'all. And it was, that care, witnessing it, I think it was something important. And so it was important for me to show that like these are three places that I was able to see very clearly in among the young men that I was studying. And I don't think they're the only ways that people come to unspoiled identity, but I do think that there's some very powerful ones that
Yeah.
that help you to get there. And I think it's important to highlight that no matter where you are, listeners, people growing up wherever they are in their lives, just because you don't have access to one of them, you might have access to another one, right? So I wasn't in a community organization when I was a teenager or a young person really, but I did watch Noah's Ark religiously growing up, and it became a big shaper of what I thought. And in some ways, I always laugh and say, maybe that early mentor of mine, who I hinted at, Dr. Glasgow, was like, you know, I would never use the word gay father, but it's actually funny because I have a young guy who, from the project, who I have watched graduate and get degrees, and like I've been helping him and mentoring him throughout this. And one day he said to me, he was like, you're like my gay father. And I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I don't know. Yeah. Like I can't believe that this is where we are, where we've come full circle to this. Like if you see me in that way, um, I think it just shows that family matters, right? Whether it's biological or chosen or constructed, however we think about it, family socializes you into that life, and it's super important. Yeah.
I really feel like growing up, so many of us, not all of us, but so many of us were silenced.
Mm-hmm.
And or we learned to silence ourselves so that way we could avoid stigma. I can't even get it out. So we can avoid stigma. How about
Yes. Yes.
that? um, or to keep ourselves covered,
Yeah.
like Terrell mentioned. But I just feel like your book is a it's a way to say I see you.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I see you.
Yes.
Second of all, there's a way for you to get out of this. There's a way
Mm-hmm.
for you to love yourself. There's a way for you to find community again. Matter of fact, the community is waiting for you.
Yep.
So again, it's just remembering. I keep going back to that word because I think it's there. It's just we we have some layers, y'all. We got,
Mm-hmm.
you got to peel back that onion, and there's some layers that we got to get through before we get to the core, before we get to the root of the thing, right?
And
So
find your people. Yeah. Find
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 your
your
people, find
people.
your tribe.
Find your tribe. Yeah.
And I think your book is a blueprint for that, and it really it
Yep.
lets us know that there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so thank you for writing your
Yeah,
book
thank
Shameless:
you.
The Making of Black Gay Identities in LA. Terrell, first of all, did I hear you say you had a PhD?
I do.
Dr.
Yes,
Terrell.
correct.
You just said that. You should have corrected me in the beginning. Like, hold on, pause. You don't put some respect on this man's name. This man that went to school, wrote all these papers and spent all these hours. Dr. Terrell J.A. Winder.
Winder.
I keep wanting to say Winder.
Just think about it like, I'm over here on the West Coast with the wine country. Just think wine.
Okay. Oh, there we
Winder,
go.
wind.
Dr. Terrell J.A. Winder,
Correct.
author of Shameless: The Making of Black Gay Identities in LA. Thank you for being on the Hung Up podcast. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. Uh, I'm going to keep reading, I'm going to finish the book.
Yeah,
And so, if you're open to it, once I'm finished, I'll be reaching back out to you to
of
see if you're
course.
open to do a part two,
Of course.
because of course I'll have more
Anytime.
questions for you. And so, speaking of which, like unpackers, y'all have listened to the interview. This was the tip of the iceberg. But Dr. Terrell, let the people know what else can they expect from your book when they go out and pick it up.
Yeah, I think you can, expect some good data that'll back up any experience you have, right? A good way for you to kind of engage with I think just holding our stories for what they are. I think especially at this moment in time when, like we said, sometimes we're not taught about what our experiences are from the institutions that we're a part of or under this particular moment. Um, to me, it was important for this book to be out there and for it to get into people's hands, so that they could say they're bearing witness to the lives that people have had. I also think you can expect some very beautiful artwork from Oluche, a Nigerian Canadian artist who let me use his artwork for the cover of the book, which is gorgeous.
I love
And
the cover
so
of this
yes, I
book.
love his work. So shout out to him.
Yeah, yeah. How did you even decide on the cover?
I have always loved his work. And one of my very close friends who's also an artist, Diedrich Brackens, who's a textile, like a weaver, and does some amazing work. He knew that I loved his work as well. And so always in the front of my mind, I was like, I know what the cover of this book is gonna be. It
You were
has to be one of
manifesting
his
it. You had
pieces.
the vision.
Yeah. I was like, it has to be his piece. And I knew it because I was like, my if one thing will be true, I think as a writer, I'm never fully happy with everything I've written, but I was like, I know the book can't be ugly. So I was like, I'll never be fully satisfied with everything that's inside, but I will always be very happy that the cover is exactly what I wanted it to look like. I think it captures exactly what I had in mind. And I'm just so grateful he allowed me to use his work to cover the
Absolutely.
book.
The artwork is giving shameless. It's
Yes.
giving unbothered. It's
Yes.
giving see my skin. I feel my skin. I'm proud of my
Exactly.
skin. Look at me. Like it's just I'm proud. Like I'm in love with myself. Like that
Hmm.
is what the cover art is giving.
Yeah.
Dr. Terrell
Thank you.
Winder.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
for
me.
being here.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
All righty.